Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's weekly town hall meeting, November 14th, 2022. Today's agenda is project and development updates, documentation updates, marketing and content updates, collaborations, and Q&A. Robinson, can you please start us off with project and development updates?
Thank you. So, as usual, let's start with our overall engineering metrics. The first item is the speed from the dollar metrics, and it looks like we are, even though the projection is looking good, our development time is increasing. We need to focus on, let's say, next or other product releases to get this back on track. Speed needs to be improved. So developers, please keep an eye on this particular item. Developers and both DevOps as well. This one is our deployment frequency. We were not having any deployments in the previous week, so we have steep fall here. Hopefully, in the next few days, we can have a next release and get back on track with the deployment metrics as well. Pull requests. So this is looking good, and we have an upward trend. So that's our overall throughput across all the projects. And on the change failure rate, we have no production failures reported in the last week. So there is nothing new here, and it is remaining at zero itself. That's on the overall engineering metrics. Moving on to the project updates, individual project updates. Let's start with the blockchain one. So our hotfix release was completed, and many of the witnesses have updated to the latest version. The hard fork is scheduled in the next few days. So anybody who was not upgraded, please do upgrade to the latest version. And on other work-related update, our priority is on our major focus on the Peerplays legacy code bases on the Ethereum Suns. We have been testing, and generally it's working. So we have identified certain areas for improvement. For example, the fees, the gas fee when we withdraw funds is quite higher than, or it can be improved or it can be lowered. So we're working on that. And in addition to that, we are also trying to bring in a few checks in place for scenarios where the fund withdrawn is too low. So there could be scenarios where the gas fee on the Ethereum could be smaller than or equal, higher than or equal to the funds being withdrawn. So we are bringing some checks to make sure that these are verified. These are these are mitigated, because if the gas fee is higher than the amount that is being withdrawn, it won't look good. So we are working on those improvements. In addition to that, on the Ethereum Suns, we also have a couple of bugs identified. So those are the items happening on the Ethereum Suns. And we are also progressing with our research on the Substrate platform. So there are two streams. So one stream we are looking into various libraries, which Substrate calls as palettes. So we are looking at those libraries and also support for cross-chain communication and other features. On the other hand, we are looking at how and what we can do with the smart contracts and how exactly the Ethereum compatibility works and things like that. So generally, it looks like generally the overall feedback is pretty positive with the REST and Substrate framework, which Polkadot is using, and I think we will start working on the consensus changes and improvements by end of the month. So generally we are very optimistic about the platform and the choice that we have made. So that's major updates from the blockchain team. And on next, what's happening, the most important steps are we are trying to improve our market page designs. There are also small works being happening on profile page. That's the most important steps which is happening now. And another item that we're working on is the test coverage. So we don't have a proper test coverage, or rather, we don't have any test coverage at all. So we're trying to increase this test coverage to at least 25%, and the developers are looking into tools like just to bring in the test coverage. So that's a major development activity happening on the next. So here we have details of the new initiative here. So PeerLink project. This is a project where we are working with the 3Speak team, And in a nutshell, this is about interaction and integration with Hive blockchain's layer two solutions, starting with the honeycomb solution, which three speed. And the general overall idea is that these layer two solutions has a lot of tokens and interesting amount of liquidity as well. So we are trying to tap into these new users, and we are also trying to use our Ethereum Suns feature, and we're providing a gateway for people to bridge from from the Hive layer 2 solutions to Peerplays and to various Ethereum family of chains. So this is generally what Peerlink is, and this will also bring in support of MetaMask and Hive keychain into the next family of products. So we have envisioned the Peerlink's front end to be a component within Next, and also this can be accessed as a standalone app. So as part of this project, we as in Next will also get support for MetaMask and Hive keychain, which can be used for Hive Suns as well as Ethereum Suns related transactions. So currently, the status is we have the interaction designs completed, and the development has been started. So we're not getting into functional specs for this project, but rather we are proceeding with the use cases, and development is in progress. And the QA team is in parallel; they're working on the test cases as well. So we have not started making releases for this project yet. So in the upcoming weeks, we'll start seeing more progress on that front as well. Okay, that's all from the development team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robinson. Sean, documentation updates, please.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. So in this week for our documentation updates, we have our functional specs for trade hands, our front page functional spec and collection view functional spec. These are still pending review, but are pretty close to being released. But as far as our trade hands project goes, we're going to be slowing down on documentation for that and picking up on documentation for Next and for peer review and other projects. So, in terms of upcoming documentation work, we have a review of the next market page. We have an update for our faucet setup documentation, and we are working on some user stories for peer review, which is the regulator dashboard for GBC. And after that, we will have some requirements for peer review. So that is what's coming up. Thank you. That is my update for today.
Thank you, Sean. Michael, marketing and content updates, please.
Hey, Kelly. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, wherever you are. Hope you all had a great weekend and happy Monday. First order of business for this week is to share that I've started working with Elka on beginning the process to fill a social media specialist for Peerplays. This is available on our website under careers and our LinkedIn page. As of this morning, we've had over close to 450 applicants. I'll be working with Elka this week to fine tune that list of interviewees. A short description on the role on the right. Essentially, one individual in Peerplays who will be responsible for all of the social media content across all of our platforms. I think one of the key things for this individual, whoever he or she may be, is to do an analysis of which social media platforms that we're currently on that may or may not be working for us as optimally as possible, and to find and decide any new platforms that would be more appropriate for a crypto organization to be participating in. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that we fill this role quickly, and hopefully I'll be able to give an update at next week's town hall that we have successfully filled that role. In anticipation of filling this role, we've started to work with Abigail and Oksana on customizing and creating some consistency across those images that we use on our social media platforms. Obviously, there are two pieces to this activity. Number one is writing it appropriately, and I'll be working with Vitor to define some keywords that we should include in our social media content copy moving forward. But additionally, and also just as importantly, a visual consistency to what we do on all of our posts across all of our platforms, whether that be Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube. I have an update for the website relaunch. We're targeting Thursday, December 1st to launch this. Meetings continue with the team this week, November 15th and 17th. Right now, I'm in the process of looking at all of the language that we have on every page to make sure that it's consistent with our current position as an organization. And hopefully, as someone who comes to the website for the first time, we can tell a little bit of a story and lead them through the website appropriately. I'm working with Vitor right now to build out a social SEO structure on the current website. This is an exercise to make sure that when we come to apply the same thought and activity to the new website, that process is clearly defined. That will extend to our blogs that are posted on our website, or any original content that we will post, making sure that there's this robust SEO structure in the back end to make sure we can get all the eyeballs that we possibly can. Most of the other work is complete. We just have some minor design decisions to make with Dave, Abigail, and Roxana. But hopefully next week I can give a more definitive reveal of this project. And again, we're targeting December 1st, 2022 to relaunch this. Moving alongside the project for the new website, Vlad has been working with Bobinson and the Avalon team to move forward progress and activity on developing a mobile app for iOS and Android. Most of the other key deliverables are cleared for launch on the desktop version. So we will also be launching this on December 1st with a link right off the brand new website. But I want to thank Bobinson for his cooperation so far, working with the Avalon team to move the mobile app forward, and also Vlad for making sure that progress continues on this activity. I wanted to invite everyone to take a look at the recent content that Mo has written for the organization. Some, primer articles on what Peerplays is, where you can go within the website to access all of our resources, some thought with respect to the trends that we can expect for blockchain in 2023. And as per Bobinson and Sean's updates, Mo has created a 20-page user guide for Next based on Ty's original document. It includes descriptive text that's maybe a little bit more customer focused for sign up and login, dashboard explainers, blocks, wallet, and general settings. I'll be collaborating with the product team to make sure that this is exactly where it needs to be before we start to flesh out other assets in terms of marketing that will come further down the line. Activity for this week, I'm committing to next week's town hall on the 21st to include some analytic reports via Vitor. Vitor has been exploring our Google Analytics on our back end to our current website, getting an understanding of what metrics we can grab and what compelling stories we can share. So next week you will see a different form to the marketing updates, which will include the historical analytics reports that we have with Sala, but hopefully provide a little bit more insight as to where we are and where we need to go. Jonathan and JM, the product messaging sessions will continue this week. I just got to find some time in everyone's calendars where we can have a significant conversation around defining those products. Tomorrow, I'm going to be attending the Geography of Cryptocurrency webinar. If there's any key findings on, emerging markets and usage trends and future adoption of crypto, I will share those next week and in Rocket Chat. But our fingers crossed that there's some key insights in there that can inform us as to the state of the industry right now. That concludes this week's marketing update. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Michael. Jonathan with collaboration updates.
Thank you very much. So these are the collaboration updates for Peerplays in this past week. As you heard, there's been some work in relation to Gaming Benefits Corporation. That's the, as Sean talked about, that's what we like to call peer view. That's the regulatory charitable gaming dashboard. So that work is getting underway. We've had numerous calls with them and meetings to organize that. It's coming together really nicely. Quite excited about that. In infrastructure, there is 3Speak, as Bobinson updated in relation to what we like to call PeerLink. That work is well underway, and we're quite excited about that as well. In the medical sector, Mars VR is working on connecting Peerplays with their VR game, which is a gamified rehabilitation community, and that is well underway as well. And so we'll have more updates on that. And in dedicated team updates, we have a new digital marketing specialist, Vitor, and he has joined the team as of last week, and we're quite excited to have him on board. Welcome. And so that makes one new team member. As Michael talked about, there is a lookout for a social media specialist. So if you know somebody, please send them to the Peerplays LinkedIn or go to Rocket Chat and reach out to Alka. She'll be able to connect you on that. And those are the collaboration and dedicated team updates for this past week.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments, thoughts? Anybody here have anything? We had some that came in from the community. The first question is, during the crowd sale, these and other posts and the white paper, as well as the bulletin advertise PPY as a profit sharing token on a gaming blockchain. That means that PPY holders, not original investors, could expect profits in the form of cryptocurrencies from just holding PPY. Is this true?
So it's an interesting question. So technically, no, it's not true. Just the TLDR of it all. So to summarize those materials, the decentralized autonomous cooperative DAC model was always the objective, and that was clear throughout all those materials. Getting started, the first proof of concept we made such that fees associated with the administration of games could then be distributed to the network in different ways. It could go to PPY holders, it could go to the developers, it could even go to node operators. That's what it was designed for back then. PPY holders then would be, now the idea behind that was as a decentralized autonomous cooperative, PPY holders then would be incentivized to build games, and with the expectation that PPY holders would be incentivized to also to play those games, right? So there's a cooperative nature to that. There's a give and a take per se. But all that sounds good in theory, but what happened in reality didn't reflect that. From the experience we had, in meeting other game developers new to Peerplays without PPY, they saw this model as a liability, basically, rather than a benefit, because there was no evidence that PPY holders would be supportive of any gameplay, and that they simply sought out to hold PPY expecting passive income from it. The limited numbers turning out from early releases of some of the games like Rock, Paper, Scissors, Hokey Pro reflected that reality. So to date, we're not aware of anyone from the crowdfunding days that built a game other than Helmbet. Guys remember that one? Which, due to lack of use, they didn't continue to maintain it because it was simply not being used. So that's another reason why the model simply didn't work. So since then, there's been further developments and iterations to better align the whole decentralized autonomous cooperative model so that security is at the heart of it, rather than requiring counterparty expectations of gameplay. To be frank, all we have learned over the years is that this model simply doesn't work to provide quote unquote profits. We have learned this not just from our own expectations, but through others in the crypto space who essentially copied us in variations of this model. And we've seen them all throughout the years. And all these networks ended up short-lived or don't grow as expected. The need for anti-fragile security is always at the heart of blockchain, though. And the need will continue to grow as greater value is brought to any network. So that is where the decentralized autonomous cooperative needs to focus in order to be successful going into the future. That's all I would say about that.
Thank you. Question number 2. What games is PBSA developing or supporting to develop in the near future?
I give collaboration updates every week that talk about this, so I'm kind of confused about the question, but PBSA's current collaboration with GBC incorporates a suite of games that have been acquired for use in regulated online gaming. So some of these include classic 50-50, progressive 50-50, product raffles, calendar raffles, Chase the Ace, which is a Nova Scotia favorite, and Queen of Hearts, and more. So through another collaboration, PBSA may be supporting esports learning initiative, which would incorporate both regular and homeschool students as well. So these are just some of the initiatives that are being supported with PBSA at the moment.
Thank you. Question 3. What projects on the roadmap will have the potential, if they gain traction, to generate a shared profit for PPY holders?
Going back to what I just answered in question 1, the short answer to that is none. A PPY holder cannot generate a share of profit from the Peerplays blockchain in its current version. So ever since the update to consensus using gamified proof of stake in order to facilitate security for the sidechain operations, which enables us to be able to have Bitcoin and Hive and soon Ethereum passing into Peerplays, the flow of transaction fees and any other value generation flows to participants in GPOS and gamified proof of stake. I wouldn't call those quote unquote PPY holders. because in order to participate in gamified proof of stake, you are locking up your PPY and also participating in the selection of node operators contributing to the network, including witnesses, sons, and of course advisors. So this means gamified proof of stake participants will see their PPY grow with almost every network transaction. With this in mind, if you were asking what projects on the roadmap will have potential for gamified proof of stake participants, I would say the project we started, which is called quote unquote Together, is most promising project, which focuses primarily on the problem of how people maintain their connections with one another. This acts as an important primitive that other things can then be layered into, like Lego bricks. So aside from that, though, just as I talked about in the last question, there's of course the Gaming Benefits Corporation collaboration which is introducing all those games like the classic 50-50, progressive 50-50, Chase the Ace, etc. Think about all those games, and each and every single transaction means greater rewards for gamified proof of stake participants because they are helping to secure the network. So just a little bit more details on how gamified proof of stake participants can gain greater rewards beyond what the question was. But the bottom line to the question and in the way that it was asked essentially is none. So hope that helps.
Thank you. And this is the last question. Does the only director of PBSA think PBSA has any obligations officially or morally toward those who bought PPY tokens during the crowdfund? If so, what are they?
There's a few issues with that question. Some of it's just not true. But so yeah, PBSA's obligation is, to be specific, PBSA's obligation is to its mission, which was clear from day one. It hasn't changed. Not a single word of its mission has changed. PBSA never sold a single PPY. The donations received to PBSA were in support of its mission, also, which was clearly defined. PBSA's role was and is to make recommendations to the chain and help support it. A recommendation for how the Genesis block could be done was made and left open to anyone to be able to change or edit it for almost a month. Like when someone finally picked it up, the code, and started to run it, then others did also and started to vote for witnesses. They decided by consensus that this should be how Peerplays distribution starts. So put simply, the recommended distribution was what everyone who ran the code agreed upon. Bitcoin SIG, as a matter of fact, was lucky enough to be the first to agree to it. So Bitcoin SIG was actually the first one who was agreeing with how the distribution should go, and others thereafter followed. So this is the codified Peerplays blockchain history. So that's essentially all I can really say about that.
Thank you. I will open it up to everybody here. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Actually, I'd like to say something.
Okay, sure.
This is actually comment. So I'm sure everybody's been following the news. At least I hope you are. So there's been some interesting happenings over this past week relating to FTX, and SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, and whatnot. I understand that some people might be worried about what they're seeing happening in the crypto space. If anything, the way that I see this, all this fallout that's happening, this is exactly why the focus on decentralization is so important. This is why we need to really hold true to the principles of what we're building, especially with Peerplays. Decentralized exchanges now are more valuable than ever. And these, what I like to call shenanigans that are happening with centralized exchanges, they are now just getting shaken out because they're bringing with them the broken financial system mechanisms that blockchain and crypto, and in its iteration of Bitcoin at least, were meant to actually get away from. And so when you take things like this and you manipulate them into something they weren't designed to do, you have this whole fallout. crypto itself has not failed. What's failed are people in the crypto space and using it in this way. I think that it's going to be a rough go for the next little while as people begin to understand the difference between what's happened with the people in the space versus the technology and what its promise of and what promise it holds for the future. So I just wanted to make the comment that everything that we're doing with Peerplays has, if anything, like it has no impact whatsoever as far as what happened with FTX. We had no affiliations whatsoever. They are a centralized exchange. Their operations and all their partners operated in such a way that they were coming from the old financial system. And from all my commentaries, of course, from the past and everything I espouse to and the principles that we share with Peerplays, I think that it's clear that our future is in supporting decentralization as a means to protecting sovereignty and protecting freedom for everybody. And that's not going to happen by continuing to use the current systems, which are doing the exact opposite, which is centralizing and taking away freedoms and reducing people's sovereignty. So it's terrible what's happened to so many people who came to the space that they had to learn not your keys, not your crypto in this manner. It's a lesson that many in the early days learned from Mt. Gox. And of course, it's happened again now with this generation. So all we can do now is continue to build, continue to grow, and to continue to focus on providing the tools that are going to help people to increase their sovereignty, increase their freedom, and be able to make sure that we emerge from this bigger and stronger, because that's what anti-fragile networks do. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Hope it helps.
May I have one question, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. You didn't answer the question about your moral obligations toward those who bought PPY during the crowdfund. Could you add words about this? Or do you think you have some or any moral obligations to those investors or crowdfunding supporters?
Yeah, so I actually answered that question. My answer to the question was the dedication to the mission. So the moral obligation I have is to ensure that we carry out that mission and that it's successful.
Okay. And a second question, on peerplays.com in March 2017, there was written, profit from every play. If you have Peerplays tokens in a digital wallet, you automatically earn profits from every play, every single day, and in every supported digital currency worldwide. There are some advertisements that never said you will earn those if the DAC is successful also. You said before that it all would depend on the success of the decentralized autonomous organization, but on the website that was never told. Can you give me a hint, please, where I can read this up?
I don't specifically remember what's said on the website in 2017.
So
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you on that either. So who is this?
I'm from the community.
Okay. So what was the question?
If you can point to the statements, you made a statement that the success of those games you advertised earlier would depend on the success of the decentralized autonomous organization or on the community. But those points were never written down on the website, or I don't remember them. That's why I ask this question. This doesn't come together. What you said earlier doesn't come together with the advertisement on your LinkedIn or on peerplays.com and so on. There was that, hey, you will earn profits by holding PPY. Yeah, and so many in the community are waiting for those profits. That's why I'm asked, because you earlier said, hey, there are some restrictions. Didn't work out because the DAC didn't work out, or we didn't have a successful test with Bookie Pro. But after you tested Bookie Pro during the World Cup, you said, hey, this was a successful test. But what were the numbers? Why wasn't it successful? You never released it. So yeah, that are some problems I have. By what numbers do you think Bookie Pro never worked out? Because directly after the test, you said, oh, it was pretty successful. So, but you never released any numbers why it wasn't successful. Could you answer this question?
Okay, so this is a specific question.
Yeah.
It's fine for your previous commentary. That's fine. Some of it is inaccurate though. Regardless,
what isn't
the-
accurate?
No, I can answer you about the Bookie Pro. So I don't have any specific numbers to be able to share with you at the moment. What I can
Yeah.
tell you though is that, as shared many times throughout the years, numerous conferences, numerous connections with different people in the industry were made, and the results were the same for the same reasons that I just shared. The model was always a blocker for people to want to adopt using Bookie Pro. And that's it simply, it was the same story over and over. And how do we know this? There's nobody using it.
Bitcoin was a lie. There was no Bitcoin betting, so of course nobody was
Yeah,
intended to play with Bitfun or so. Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked to people, like we talked to so many people that didn't even care about Bitcoin. They were simply going to use something like a tokenized USD even, which Peerplays can support. Like it's built into it to be able to enable somebody to connect as an operator and be able to even create their own USDT kind of a token, right? Where they would take credit card and then it would all work on the blockchain. And we did our best to showcase those types of value propositions, but the underlying model, which required the percentage going to the network the way it didn't make sense to them. It was no longer a prudent business decision to utilize that type of application.
Sorry if I chime in, but was it never an option to make it open source so that witnesses and community themselves could just advertise it? It would eventually become self-sustained growth because it would just function and you just could bet with Bitcoin and others would use it during the time.
100%. It has always been that way. Like for years, we have encouraged the community to pick up the Bookie Pro code and start using it for themselves. That is an option, but it simply hasn't happened. And the thing is that we can only make recommendations. So all the code is open source. It has been since day one. Everything is available to enable anyone to be able to pick up that code and be able to start a sports betting exchange. As a matter of fact, this past...
Sorry, but you never finished the data feed problem. So is everything working now? So everyone could just...
So the data feed problem was resolved with Couch Potato. And I explained this in an update a couple of weeks ago, actually. So Couch Potato is available, but it just was not accepted by the witnesses at the time. So if the witnesses would allow it, they could use Couch Potato to solve the data feed problem. And just recently, if you've seen the updates regarding what we call 6 Pro, we've done a whole new refactoring and updating of the entire code base for what was Bookie Pro. So if you pick up the 6 Pro suite application, which is available all in GitLab, you can run Bookie Pro per se for yourself. Call it whatever you like. The application's available for anyone to use.
Yeah, but you can't use it if the witnesses don't support it. So why do you release it if there's no witness to support it?
So this is a matter for the community to vote in witnesses that will then, right? So it's up to the PPY holders to then vote in witnesses that will support the running of 6 Pro.
Yeah, there was a voting, or I don't know the correct English term, but we asked the witnesses who would support it, but only who thinks about it, who knows about it. But only 2 witnesses answered. So we never got more answers than from 2 witnesses. Other witnesses aren't communicating with us. So that's a problem currently, that the witnesses are not available.
I agree. It is a problem. And so something that we're actually looking at introducing soon is better communications for the community. And it's something we've been working on for quite some time. Unfortunately, it's taken longer than expected. But I agree that communication is a huge issue when it comes to this kind of consensus. And it has been an ongoing issue for every blockchain I've ever seen that uses anything that's related to something that requires voting. So yeah, it's a matter of being able to have better communication with everyone. And if we can do that, then I think we'll have better results.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. This is going to have to end today's weekly town hall meeting. If you want any other questions, please feel free to join the next town hall next Monday. Thank you all so much for joining, and I hope you have a great week.